I've covered quite a lot of Pokemon here on the channel, from going through Ash's complete timeline in the anime, as well as taking a look into all of the spin-off shows and bits of media that exist. One of the ones I didn't get to dive deeper into was Pokemon Concierge, a Netflix exclusive spin-off series that was not out yet at the time of my previous videos. Now, since sitting down to watch through this 4-episode series a couple of times throughout the past year, I wanted to make a video talking about it properly. I love when Pokemon gets to make a production that diverts from what they would usually do, with this show specifically having a unique premise and an animation style that makes it stand out so well. So let's take a look into Pokemon Concierge to see what this Pokemon spin-off is all about, the process that it took to make the series, and what potential future it may have. February 27th, a day known infamously in the Pokemon fandom as Pokemon Day, as it was the original Japanese release date for the Pokemon Red and Green version video games on the Game Boy. Nowadays, this is celebrated by the Pokemon Company hosting special Pokemon Presents events that are filled with announcements for every aspect of the Pokemon world. But in 2023, they announced something a little extra, and that would be for the animation space, and that was none other than Pokemon Concierge, where we were given a rundown of some basic details to expect, along with a brief trailer that let us see a stop-motion animated Psyduck walking on the beach, as well as a title card that shows the main character of the series, Haru, standing right next to the Psyduck. All the other information we get is the look of the series logo, a tagline that says "I'm happy when you're happy," and a release date of, well, just coming soon. Now, this was a very exciting moment, as most people were pleasantly surprised at the look of the show, seeing just how unique of an idea that this could be. Something else that was cool was the ideas that spawned from the mix of information we got and the official look of it all. The style of the main character, her clothes specifically, gave off this vibe that can only be connected to the comfort of the Animal Crossing series, especially with the most recent entry in that series. From what we knew, the series would take place at a Pokemon resort, and we would get to see Haru's story as a concierge working there. I'm sure we've all felt like we are bombarded, under pressure, or that we don't want to get up and keep doing what we've been doing and just give up. But when you see Pokemon Concierge, it's really therapeutic, and it makes you want to try and be the best you can be. I wish viewers will see Pokemon Concierge and feel like they can keep going. That statement was made by Non, the Japanese voice actress of Haru, during Anime Expo that year at a press event. This really opened up more to fans like myself who were waiting for any bit of new information about what this series would entail, confirming the feel-good nature and positive spirit that we all believed it would have. During the summer of 2023 as well, Netflix released a special behind-the-scenes set video at Dwarf Studios, the studio responsible for creating the show, as it followed Non talking a bit about her experience as a voice actor when working in the realm of stop motion, and how the connections of Haru's different facial expressions or how adorable Psyduck was helped bridge a better connection for her and her performance. We also got the chance to see behind the scenes of what it takes to make a project like this, seeing the different set pieces and character models, and honestly, just how tedious it can be to make it all come to life. I love this stuff so much, especially as we get to see the actual scale of the characters and Pokemon created for the show. And I think it's amazing that we have Pokemon that genuinely look like they are soft, or have fur thanks to using other materials to make them come to life. The director of the series, Iku Ogawa, then gives us a brief overview of what the series is and how we focus on Haru becoming a Pokemon concierge at a resort on a tropical island, as it becomes the story of her growing into her role. They worked hard to bond the connection between Non and Haru by using her own facial expressions as references when creating the different expressions we would see Haru have. We get to understand a bit about the personality of Haru in the fact that things don't always go as planned for her, and sometimes life is hard, but the connections from the Pokemon around her, and through learning to heal and grow, there may be something here that is truly therapeutic for many fans, just like Non stated. At the end of the video, we do get to see that the series was going to be released in December of 2023, and that there was a lot going for the series that had people very excited to see what Pokemon Concierge was all about.
Pokemon will be right back. Now, back to Pokemon.
So yeah, I'm a pretty big Pokemon fan, and along with collecting my whole entire life, I love making videos that are about Pokemon. Since I have wanted to create more Pokemon content like I used to nearly a decade ago, I have been making more videos over on my second channel, Jordan Fringe Gaming, that are me just having some fun opening Pokemon cards, but I have some big plans for other types of Pokemon content for that channel, so please check that out if you want more Pokemon related content from me in general. On top of that, myself, along with Real Breaking Nate and Super Duper Danny, Danny run a weekly podcast called The Shadowless Podcast. We've been running it since the start of 2020 and have recorded over 250 episodes, had some amazing guests join us, and have been lucky enough to record some episodes live as an official event at the most recent Pokemon Worlds in Honolulu. And it was truly an honor, and I have a whole vlog video on the other channel showcasing that experience. And I'm sorry for all that self-promo, but I would love for you to check out all the Pokemon content over on that channel if you are interested, but I promise for the most part, anything to do with Pokemon in the realm of animation like this will be covered here on this channel. You're not losing anything, there's just extra stuff over there. Moving back to discussing Pokemon Concierge, the series was officially released on Netflix December 28th, 2023, right before the year was over, which was a nice way to end off 2023 with something so lighthearted and charming. The release consisted of 4 episodes with varied runtimes between 14 and 20 minutes with the titles I'm Haru, the New Concierge, What's on Your Mind Psyduck, I Hope I Can Evolve Too, and Welcome to the Pokemon Resort. So let's talk about the episodes individually. The first episode of the series, I'm Haru, the New Concierge, starts us on her little story here following Haru as she feels like her life is spiraling out of control. After a breakup with her longtime boyfriend on top of everything else going on, she heads out to find something new by getting a change of scenery as she gets off the mainland and arrives at the Pokemon Resort to begin working as a Pokemon concierge there. Haru is pretty anxious about a lot of things, and this job is definitely one of them. This is seen right off the bat when her boss, Miss Watanabe, gives her the hardest task on her first day, and that's to spend the day enjoying the resort as if she were a guest there herself. Naturally, Haru doesn't know how to do that, causing her to feel that this is some sort of test as she then starts exploring the area. What's cool about the resort is that people and Pokemon both stay at the resort as guests, and both people and Pokemon can work there. We see Haru running into and meeting Tyler, another person who works at the resort, as he introduces himself and 3 of his co-workers, as they are the Pokemon Panseer, Panpour, and Pansage. As her day goes on, we get to see how beautiful of an environment she is in, giving her a chance to take in just how amazing this Pokemon paradise truly is. She next runs into Alyssa, a part-time summer employee of the resort, as she tries to help Haru understand that she is supposed to be doing nothing but enjoying the resort for this day, and not worrying about what work she needs to do. Alyssa then helps Haru by getting her a new change in clothes to feel more in the relaxing spirit of the resort before getting a cooked meal from Tyler, and it's at this moment where she finally feels at peace and the most relaxed she's ever felt. All the stress, all of her anxieties, they all seem to have quieted down as she gets to lay on a field of grass overlooking the ocean as the background noises are only the gentle sounds of nature. So yeah, therapeutic is definitely a way to describe how the show makes you feel right away, giving you a chance to feel for Haru's life before coming here and getting to see her have this nice relaxing moment barely halfway through the first episode. It has a lot of adventure and information thrown at you before we get to shut down that side of things for a moment of clarity to fully take in the peace that she has definitely been needing. She ends up falling asleep for a bit in the grass only to be woken up by what seemed like a Psyduck, even though the Psyduck is already gone when she fully wakes up. This Psyduck will be more important soon, but as you'll notice throughout this episode, this Psyduck seems to secretly be following Haru around, and now she's starting to take notice of that. As her first day is starting to come to an end, she actually gets to use the amenities at the resort, like getting to relax and be given a massage by her boss and a few Pokemon that help out. Aside from this also being relaxing as a viewer with the soundscape used, the lower talking volume, and the ASMR-like qualities, Haru is given the kind words of her being able to meet and connect with another Pokemon, much like the other workers have, so that she can be in a similar situation as them. This massage ends up putting her completely to sleep, but instead of being relaxed from this, she ends up spending her late night trying to figure out a way to make up for slacking, even if she wasn't slacking. She definitely feels like falling asleep in front of Miss Watanabe is somehow a bad look, so now she's up late, giving herself a boost of energy through some sugar, and ends up working on this whole spreadsheet presentation that goes over what she did in her first day and what personal work policies she wants to implement for herself, presenting this all to her boss over tea the next morning, but based on her response of how she slept, you can tell she really didn't. And that's when Miss Watanabe asks about what she did yesterday. She just wanted to hear what Haru was able to do and enjoy as a guest, rather than it being turned into something like this presentation for work. Haru is clearly a workaholic who pushes themselves to be in the hustle and bustle of everything, but that's not what the vibe here at the resort is. Things are slow and peaceful and not focused on this ultra work mentality. Her boss ends up cutting her off, trying to say that she appreciates the thoroughness of the presentation, but she just wants to know how her day went, with Haru overthinking this as her having to know and give the right answer, or she'll look bad or get in trouble or lose her job somehow. But after getting a glance at all the monkey Pokemon having a good time in the background, causing her to burst out laughing, this finally gives herself a chance to understand why this place is special, giving an answer to to Miss Watanabe about the Pokemon who are here getting to just have a good time and go around doing whatever they want, making her realize that a lot of her own problems in life can be boiled down to just being silly too. It's a really nice moment because Haru gets to break out of her shell, showing that she appreciates what just one day at the resort has done for her, especially after feeling like she needed to find some purpose in life as everything has not been so great for her in general recently. She then gets embarrassed for expressing her sentiments, thinking it doesn't make her look like a professional and instead like a little kid, but her boss tells her that everything she was saying is exactly what she wanted to hear. She further explains that even though working here is a job, the main goal is to find and have that fun so you can feel happiness and joy as well, then handing her a bandana to tie around her neck to show that she is an employee of the resort. But that's really the only rule to follow here. Of course, Haru wants to know what her first assignment or task is, as she is then told to find a Pokemon on the island to connect with and make them feel like she felt before the end of the day. Okay, I want a job here. This sounds too amazing to be true. If this were any other type of show or intellectual property, you know you're just sitting here waiting for some horror-like twist or something. My guard's just too down for that not to happen. But why is that Psyduck following her? Hiding in the bushes, staring at her while she sleeps. Scary. Sorry about that. Haru later on is worried about completing this task, thinking it's impossible to get it done because she doesn't know what she's doing. And then, out of nowhere, that evil, scary Psyduck comes running out of the bushes! Okay, sorry, it's very chill. Psyduck pops out at the perfect time to catch Haru's attention before waddling away, ending the first episode, but pulling us in for the second episode as well as her second day at the resort. The second episode, What's on Your Mind, Psyduck, picks up right from that moment, but Haru's still on the beach and is distracted by the different Pokemon there that she thinks are fighting even though they are just playing around. She seems stressed and the other employees are watching Haru not fully adjusting to things as she's just trying to get some cell signal to search up more information about Pokemon so that she can learn more about them through studying rather than gain the knowledge through hands-on experiences. They understand what she's going through, but they know this is something Haru has to get through on her own over the next little while, and she probably will. Haru though is still disappointed in not knowing what to do and is just scared to let her boss down. She ends up coming across Alyssa again as she is painting, with Alyssa telling her to be more informal about how she speaks in general, as Haru is putting this view of Alyssa as authority based on her working there longer. Alyssa then has her paint alongside her to help her get the vibe of how things operate around here. Haru clearly draws an odd-looking Pikachu that Alyssa calls out as a Psyduck, thinking that Haru must like that Pokemon a lot. She just pretends it is a Psyduck, but then the relaxing nature stops as a Pidgeot flies in and destroys the artwork by accident. Her day goes on trying to get some more advice from Tyler now, but during this she notices that same Psyduck again before it runs off, asking Tyler about it as he explains that the Psyduck came here a couple of weeks ago and that their boss has been taking care of it, but it hasn't made any connections with anyone. Haru believes that it isn't having fun and dedicates herself to now helping the Psyduck feel like she felt, learning more about Psyduck, its abilities, and that Psyduck's constant headaches are causing its psychic powers to go a bit haywire. So after seeing this in action, she wants to do whatever she can to help it. But then a Diglett causes Haru to get into an accident, and Diglets really are a crazy, unpredictable hazard doing stuff like this if you really think about it. But before Haru has another accident later involving transporting a bunch of fruit, Psyduck comes to save the day by using his powers to catch all of the fruit. This allows Haru a chance to get to know this Psyduck, explaining to it that she knows about the headaches and believes that using those psychic powers in bits throughout the day, that the headache won't build up like it has been and can give Psyduck a better control over these powers. As Psyduck does this more and more to mostly helpful instances, receiving praise from Haru and the others, Psyduck really takes a liking to Haru as they end their day sharing a nice moment together, and it's so wholesome and nice to watch.
Pokemon will be right back. Now, back to Pokemon.
This truly is a beautiful show, and it shines through just how relatable it can be. Whether you are someone who lives a stress-filled life, or you're overworking, or even in needing a connection, maybe to yourself in better and healthier ways, or to another person or group of people to find community, or through a change in environment, getting a better grasp and enjoyment of the world around you, or through Pokemon. But they sadly don't exist, so at least we have animals. Maybe you just need to pet a cat every once in a while, you know? Either way, let's move on to the third episode, I Hope I Can Evolve Too, where we see in the cutest way I've personally ever seen it a Pokemon evolve, seeing Hoppip turn into a Skiploom. Haru wakes up initially worried about being late and having to commute to work before realizing that she doesn't need to do that or worry about that anymore, as she is now getting used to her life on the island and working at the resort. We see that her phone is not a priority anymore, no longer having any battery, as Haru is grateful and excited to just start the day. As Haru and Psyduck head off, we see Alyssa dealing with a Graveler Tyler, who is sad to just go home from the resort, as she comforts it and helps get the Pokemon to head back to its trainer who's waiting at the docks. As for Alyssa helping Haru some more, she listens to Haru telling her that she doesn't know what she's even good at, aside from just doing things wrong or messing things up somehow. So Alyssa flips this, telling Haru to focus on finding what she is good at and not just focusing on what she feels she's bad at. Alyssa does this by using Pokemon in her explanation of this, saying some Pokemon like a Pidgeot are faster in the air than they are on the ground. So, you know, it's just trying to find the right thing that allows you to spread your wings. After Haru sees the newly evolved Skiploom, she wants to evolve too in some ways, wanting to grow as a person and finding what she is good at doing. She eventually stumbles across a special Magikarp that has a star marking on it, along with it being in a pool float despite being a fish. As Tyler tells her that this Magikarp can't swim all that well, so they gave it a floaty to help, as Haru notices how much fun it's still having even if it can't swim. So then Tyler flips that into some more advice for Haru, saying that instead of solely trying to pinpoint the thing that she could be good at, why not seek out what she finds fun? So much like the Magikarp who can't swim but is having a nice time, Haru doesn't need to seek out this missing piece of her puzzle, but rather to just have fun and let it happen naturally. Psyduck ends up having its powers levitate Magikarp into the sky, where a Wingull runs into it and accidentally steals the floaty, leaving Magikarp sad as Haru takes Psyduck and heads after the Wingull to go and get it back. And come on, that poor Magikarp is so sad. You have to help it. When they run into Dragonite, Haru has this rush of bravery to hop on the back of it and catch up to the Wingull. During this, you can genuinely see how much fun Haru is having while still being on her mission to get that floaty back. Psyduck does try helping, levitating the floaty off of Wingull and over to them, but it just falls short and lands down at the beach, where other Pokemon are now playing with it, with Dragonite now bringing them down. And sadly, aside from Diglett still being a menace, a Snorlax ends up popping the floaty, leaving Haru sad that they couldn't get the floaty back. But in having to spend a night out in the forest, she tries fixing it, and after seeing that she really can't fix it properly, she tries then decorating it, making it look more like a special reef, filled with a bunch of flair to it all. I feel it probably wouldn't be hard to just go and get a new floaty for the Magikarp, but whatever. Speaking of that Magikarp, it ended up waddle swimming its way over to where they are in the woods, now glowing in a yellow hue, only to surprise everyone by evolving into a Gyarados, as it's now able to swim properly and move on from needing a floaty in general because it did evolve. Also, part of me sees this as Magikarp wanting to fly instead of swim, and maybe had Psyduck use his psychic powers to levitate it up to feel the sensation of flying, and when Magikarp fell back down when the floaty was taken, maybe it was crying because it wasn't flying anymore. And hey, wouldn't you know it, Gyarados can fly! So maybe there's something there to that, but regardless, Haru witnesses this and sees how hard that Magikarp worked every day to finally then evolve. The next day, Haru notices a bunch of Pokemon all having fun with the floaty that she had turned into this decorative reef, so then she decides to make more for all the Pokemon to play with. But then I'm sitting here looking at all of those floaties like, why couldn't you have just grabbed one of those instead? But whatever, Magikarp evolved and became a Gyarados, and Haru may have found something she's good at, and maybe that's bringing joy to other Pokemon. Alyssa even comments on Haru finding her talent, and I don't think it's her arts and skills crafts that she's referring to, but just maybe the fun that she's having and spreading the joy onto all of the other Pokemon. A nice way to end that episode. The final episode, Welcome to the Pokemon Resort, shows Haru having an amazing time at the resort, showing her love and excitement for Pikachu, especially as a large group of Pikachu arrive at the resort. Alyssa makes a joke about Haru being yet another Pikachu lover, like it's a typical thing that happens, and yeah, it's true, and I'm not just talking about Ash from the main anime, but in real life, there are a lot of people who just love Pikachu the most, and I think that's great. He's also the most recognizable Pokemon thanks to being the main mascot. You can ask nearly everyone in the world who this is, and I feel you'll hear them all know the name of Pikachu, even if they have no real clue about anything Pokemon. Either way, one of the Pikachus here catches Haru's attention, as he seems to be pretty sad or shy about something, as a young trainer named Now then comes over to both of them. He explains that his Pikachu is pretty shy and quiet, and doesn't act like a normal Pikachu, expecting the Pokemon to act like the typical energetic and social version of it usually seen. Haru offers to help out in giving Pikachu and Now a chance to fully play around at the resort together with her and Psyduck. I do like that we see the boss and Alyssa talking about Haru and her dealing with Pikachu and this trainer, with Miss Watanabe giving Haru the chance to handle this situation all on her own for her experience. Now is a young trainer and is overlooking a lot of factors in trying to understand Pikachu, and he wants his Pikachu at the bare minimum to be louder, as he just speaks quieter in general. This Pikachu just isn't what Now expects him to be. We then see Now happily going on this tube tire zipline all by himself, leaving Pikachu to then go by himself afterwards, but Pikachu refuses, as Haru believes believes that he may be just scared of heights. Next, when going off to an open area high up in the mountains to yell out loud and hear your own voice return as an echo, Pikachu doesn't speak up any louder than usual. Anything that Harrow tries to do doesn't help Pikachu become louder, causing Now to ask her if his Pikachu is sick, as she isn't sure what's going on, but wants to take a picture of Psyduck and Pikachu as they have both fallen asleep together. But much like we saw in the other episode, her phone is dead, so she opts to capturing the moment by drawing it. During this, she has an idea after taking in what Now was saying earlier about Pikachu not being full of energy, and by herself just not realizing what actually needed to happen here. Later on, they head to a hill near the beach where Pikachu is having a nice time with Psyduck, with Now even noticing how much fun they're having. Haru explains to Now that at the resort they have had plenty of Pokemon that have arrived that aren't like the typical version of them you'd see, like a Duskull who is afraid of the dark, or an Oricorio that was too embarrassed to dance. She then relates this to herself, saying that when she came here, she thought that she needed to be prim and proper, having to act like an adult and take life so seriously. But after being on the island for a bit, she was able to shed her anxiety after being stuck in that mindset. Basically, Pikachu doesn't need to fit this mold of what you'd expect Pikachu to be, he just needs to be Pikachu, and that's okay. Really helping Now understand his Pikachu better, and helping Haru not only realize that Pikachu doesn't need this louder voice they've been trying to get him to have, but that she understands herself and the journey that she's on, knowing how her time here on the island has helped her, how it has brought down all that pent-up stress, and when you can genuinely take a moment to feel and see that for yourself, it's a special moment. So now when Haru and Psyduck have some fun sliding down the hill, Now asks Pikachu if he wants to go down with him, rather than just speeding off without him and letting Pikachu do it on his own. This gives them such a nice moment to bond and have a fun time with one another. So while this Pikachu is not hanging out with all the other Pikachus on the beach, he's having a great time with his trainer, and that's exactly what he wanted.
Pokemon will be right back. Now, back to Pokemon.
By the time Now and Pikachu are leaving the resort, Now talks about how much fun he and Pikachu had, how much he had learned, and how much he looks forward to coming back and spending time with Haru and Psyduck again. It's really nice to see, and it gets even more wholesome when Haru hands Pikachu a picture she drew for him to keep, showing him and Psyduck passed out together, surrounded by all of the activities they've done. As the boat sails away, Pikachu lets out some loud Pika shouts, making Haru happy to hear Pikachu come out of his shell, much like she did, and make her feel like she has made a difference in this Pikachu and his trainer's life. It's very sweet and a nice send-off, giving us Haru being able to have grown so much and help bring fun and joy to others. But after both her and Psyduck yell back out to Pikachu, Haru begins crying, saying that it's not her who deserves all this credit, it's actually Psyduck, and she's just emotional over being happy for Pikachu overcoming his anxieties and fears, seeing a bit of herself in him and how Psyduck also helped her. As Haru finally finds a true sense of purpose and belonging, the credits roll on this story, but we do get some extra bits here at the end, like Haru and Psyduck going and greeting a new guest at the resort, getting surprised that the guest is a whale lord, and she jumps right into her role as a concierge and welcoming the large Pokemon to the Pokemon resort. Also, there's a post-credit scene of a Bellsprout with a flower on its head dancing in the mirror until it notices it's being watched by you. A cute ending to a cute show. You know, part of me was worried that the last episode would turn into a whole Psyduck feeling unloved by Haru thing based on a number of factors. Like throughout the series, from the painting of Pikachu that Alyssa calls a Psyduck, to Haru relating Pokemon to certain colors of her candy, hesitantly calling the yellow piece Pikachu before stopping herself and saying it's Psyduck. There are also moments that could have made Psyduck feel not as important to Haru as a Pikachu would, especially when Now having to help one when a bunch come to the resort. It didn't go that way, which I thought was a nice pivot to what I feel they were trying to set up a bit, and it's really a kind-hearted show about a person who struggles with the stresses and anxieties of life, and when things get worse for them, they find themselves at a place that allows them to explore who they are, to crawl out of this dark hole and find this spark of joy thanks to a beautiful location, some kind co-workers, a boss who offers you a mothering comfort, and a silly yellow duck who may just be as confused as you are, but together you both find your way. Pokemon Concierge is a great example of what can be done with the property of Pokemon that is made for everyone but can also speak to older generations, offering a way to unwind and take a step back from the awful things in life and learn to not not be so hard on yourself. It feels special, and I can't agree more with it being referred to as therapeutic. I do like the story of how the series became a stop-motion animated production. Netflix and the Pokemon Company had been in talks many years prior to the release of Pokemon Concierge, with their discussions really coming together in 2019. Originally, there was a plan here, and it was to have Netflix produce a Pokemon animated series in the traditional vein of 2D animation. But thanks to Netflix already having worked with Dwarf Studios, there was a suggestion from an animator at Netflix Japan to use them to turn this Pokemon series into a stop-motion animated production. This obviously makes the production itself a lot more intensive in trying to bring it to life, having to create these moldable and movable figures with tons of expressions as well as these full-on puppets, culminating in something that not only looks incredible, but is downright impressive with everything Dwarf Studios was able to accomplish. There is a ridiculous amount of dynamic shots that require so many moving parts to pull off just to capture one frame at a time. I love the art of stop-motion animation, and seeing behind the scenes just how much effort was put into all of this was a bit mind-blowing, especially getting to see details being put in that most can easily miss or overlook, like seeing, quote, pointless bits of movement being added to something like Psyduck's walk to make it seem more unique to this Psyduck and how it may move around this world. I think that's incredible, and it takes a dedicated and talented team to craft this series in the way that they did. Obviously, 4 episodes of a show is not a lot, but in the style it was made, you can see why it did take so much effort and time to produce 4 episodes. The series in general took about 86,000 individual images to put together, and each animator working on bits and parts of the series would produce around 5 seconds of footage each day. So not only is it a lot to create the characters, the Pokemon, and the set pieces, there's a whole other level of patience and skills that come from moving all the individual pieces correctly to then capture a frame and rinse and repeat. So while 5 seconds may be what one animator could produce a day, there is so much effort that goes into making those 5 seconds come to life. The entire show was diligently made with the core of fun being there. From the background details giving you so many fun things to notice and point out, to the way that the Pokemon and people look, and for real, the Pokemon look so incredible, and I want to have a whole collectible line surrounding the show. Luckily, this concept isn't starting and ending with the 4 episodes that were released, as in February of this year, just about 2 months after the show premiered, it was confirmed by the show's director that more episodes of Pokemon Concierge are coming to Netflix and are in production now. He spoke with Variety saying, "Life at the Pokemon Resort continues. Please look forward to it. Let's see which Pokemon will come visit as a guest this time." This was a great sign for fans that things were looking good for the show to continue on. There is so much to take away from the show, and I love how we follow a character that a lot of people, mainly adults honestly, can relate to. Haru starts this series under so much anxiety, wanting to get some sort of new experience after it feels like her personal and work life are both falling apart. And here on the island, we get to see her grow, or in the spirit of the show, evolve into this version of herself that feels like she can break free from her past feelings. Being able to be more open to things, not being in this structured order that she used to have to run her life by. Seeing where Haru gets to for herself in the end is nice. We can feel how she has changed, see that she feels more at peace, and most importantly, get to see that she knows and feels that she has come so far. There is so much more that can be done in the series with future episodes to explore more themes like this further, but for what was offered, it truly is just a nice show. But some more of my biggest takeaways would be that this is one of the cutest animated shows I have ever seen. I mean, just look at this Furret or this Dedenne. Ugh, incredible. And most importantly, I've learned that Digletts are absolute menaces. In the end, I think that Pokemon Concierge is a great addition to the world of Pokemon animation. It offers something truly unique for the series, and with all of the different types of media we all consume on a daily basis, it's nice to watch something that can make you feel at peace for just a little bit. But let me know your thoughts on Pokemon Concierge, along with what Pokemon you'd like to see made in this style, in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to check out my other channel for more Pokemon content in general, but also make sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe for more videos like this. I'll be back with another video soon, but until then, later.